All right. I am so crazy excited today. I'm always excited on the master classes. We always have such incredible guests who come on, take their time to share their wisdom with us. Today, not only do we have a male on our master class, our Goddess Temple master class, but someone who is so near and dear to my heart, one of my best friends. This guy is so incredible. We've been on a beautiful journey together for years. And I am so thrilled, so excited to introduce him to every single one of you. Most of you, I don't think, know him yet. And I'm so honored and excited that he took the time to do this for all of us today, to share this incredible thing that shifted and changed his life in so many ways. And for you all to just feel him, because that's exactly what he is. He just is one big beautiful like energy of love. And I'm so grateful, Shane, that you are here with us. Please, thank you so much, first of all, for taking the time. I know how crazy busy your life is. Okay, Shane, let me introduce him before we pass everything on to him. Shane is not only an early childhood educator, full time, he's also an investor, an author, a father of three, and a husband, and also has another small business. So this is how crazy busy this guy is. And yet here he is taking the time to share something that I remember when he shared with me, I almost lost it, like fell off my chair. So basically, Shane, we used to work together in a network marketing company a few years ago. Many of you in the group know that company was Vima, you know my story. We had an amazing ride in that company. It was such an incredible opportunity for personal growth. We built teams very quickly. Shane was the most coachable person that I had ever met in my life. He was so hungry to change his life. He at that point had two children, two of his three, and was working crazy hours. I think he was working two jobs at the time, and just was like, okay, I'm going to do anything you guys tell me. And he did. He was so incredibly coachable. And one of the things that he's going to talk about today was this system that he had learned, which he applied, and look at him today. So basically, our topic today is how Shane went from $37,000, okay, almost like fell off my chair, in consumer debt to zero in less than 3 years, which includes, correct me if I'm wrong, two pretty amazing trips that he and his family took, maybe even more, but at least two that I'm aware of that he and his family took in that time frame while he's like getting out of debt. And so, Shane, let's start off with, who is Shane? Who are you?
Oh, yeah, that's a loaded question. I guess I'm everything you already said, because father, husband, um, part-time entrepreneur, part-time 9 to 5er. So yeah, I don't know if am I leaving anything out?
Yeah, maybe tell us a little bit too about, because I love this journey that you went on. Like when we first met you, you know, you were just hungry to learn.
Hmm.
You were like in this place of, oh my God, I just realized there's so much I don't know. That's kind of how I would describe you. And you were so open to, you just wanted to learn more and do more and become more. Tell us that journey. Like what got you on that journey of wanting, like going from this full-time person, or this person who had a full-time job who kind of expected this for the rest of your life, to having this glimpse of what's possible. What was that like, and why was that such a motivator for you? Because you are a completely different person than when we first met you.
Right, right. Uh, Actually, yeah, I remember that like it was yesterday, because I was working. I had just gotten out of school for ECE, and I had found a full-time job. It was downtown. I wasn't making a whole lot of money, and I had a weekend job also, and two young daughters at home at the time. So I had one of those moments where I was just like frustrated at work, and I was like, is this all there is? Like, is this what it's going to be like forever? Like, at the time I was like in my early 30s. And a friend of mine at work handed me The Secret. And that when I started to read that, um, it didn't completely make sense at the time, but that's when Jackie showed up with Rick.
Mm.
That's when network marketing first came to me.
Yes.
And that really opened me up because I didn't know how else to get into any type of business or create any type of passive income. In fact, I probably didn't know anything at the time about passive income of any kind. So
Mm.
I was just stuck. And lo and behold, it just kind of popped up as I read the book. And I guess, I was ready for it internally. I didn't know. And I manifested that and it started there with network marketing, and that got me out of my first job. So I was really grateful for that. And of course, you guys, because you were like the catalyst to everything that changed. Even with this system, that I'll tell that story after too.
Oh my God. So basically your first kind of glimpse into expanding your consciousness or becoming aware of more that's around, that's in this world, or
Mhm.
how the world works was through The Secret.
Yeah.
Yeah, love that. So I'm
Mhm.
sure we're all here sort of thinking of what it was for us because we've all started our journey, what it was for us. I love to hear that yours was The Secret. Such a beautiful spot. It was for so many people, right? That's such
Mhm.
a great documentary and book. So, okay, so here we are on this journey. We're in Vima together, network marketing, kind of going back into the past. We're having a
Mhm.
great time. We're building this big team. Things are happening. And then, you had some debt,
Yeah.
just like most of us. We all had
Mhm.
debt. And so what happened? Like, where did this, because I want to get into like now, because we're going to talk a bit into what's going on in your life now and all this amazingness right now. But take us through that what happened? You were in debt, and how did the system that you're going to share with us? Because I know everyone's like, what is the system? What is going on? So tell us sort of the beginning. What happened there?
So, funny thing with the debt, we had when Carrie and I bought our first house, we didn't want to have to do what we saw other people doing, which was like furnish a room one by one. So we took the advice of our mortgage consultant or whatever you call them at the bank, who roped us into a home equity line of credit. Which, so I say roped in at the time because we used it wrong. It wasn't his fault.
Mm.
Um, so what we did was we threw all this furniture and we furnished the house all in one shot. And all of a sudden, $22,000 later in debt, we've got a furnished house. And then before I met you guys with Vima, I had actually paid that off. So I've done this twice.
Oh,
So we were zero when I met you guys, completely zero in debt. And
interesting.
then through Vima, through trying to build a business and doing other ventures on the side, I had piled up a lot of credit card debt there because I just wasn't making enough money.
Yes.
And I had also made some errors there where I started to make money in network marketing, and I
Yeah.
was using that as a replacement for my income,
Mm.
which I should have. In hindsight, now I know that I could have used that as business income, but at the time I was saying, "Oh, great! I don't have to work today," and I wasn't going to work that day because I made my Vima check came in, and I'm like, "Great! I could take 2 days off here and there," and then that started to slowly snowball the accumulation of more debt. And one of the biggest mistakes that I did was I put the purchase of an entire vehicle on my line of credit because I didn't want to finance it.
Mm.
Because what was happening was I couldn't afford the monthly payment, but I needed a bigger vehicle because then we had Braden, so then we had 3 kids, and I
Mm.
needed to upgrade my vehicle to get the space to put 3 car seats in the back seat, which is the car I'm in right now. And the only way I could make that happen was just to put the full lump sum down instead of doing the payments because my pay just wouldn't accommodate those payments. So either way I was going into debt. I thought, you know what, the smarter way might be just to throw it on my line of credit and then just kind of stash away at that. And that didn't work. So that was really like the big catalyst to how we got to what was it, 37,000 or something like that.
37,000.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. So then you had all this debt, and then something was introduced. You got to know something. What happened there?
Right. So then you guys introduced me to, we were doing a lot of other seminars and stuff at the time. And that's when you told me about Millionaire Mind Intensive.
Mm.
And that was the spark
Mm.
to how to get this all done. And that's where I found the system that I started to eventually use that took me out of that debt. And even then, even when I knew the system, I still had bad habits.
Mm.
So, just when you get into like financial intelligence, it is same with personal development. I'm sure the ladies here can kind of attest to this. Is like when you get into that, it makes sense on a cognitive level, but then you just don't apply it right away because you still have your bad habits. That's the thing you really have to remove in order for any of that stuff to work. Because I've seen, and you've seen it too. We both seen it with a ton of people. People come in and out and they learn all this stuff and they're like, oh, it's great, but they don't do it.
Mm.
And so I did that as well. So like I left with the jar system, and I still had bad habits of putting things on credit cards and going out for dinner and trying to show out for different things. And with Vimo, one of the things I was trying to do, especially towards the end, was really show people that I had made it, and faking it a little bit, not a whole lot, but faking it a little bit, and then trying to get on planes and
Yeah.
go to all the different events and stuff, and eventually it caught up to me. And when that finally dried up, when there was no more network marketing and no other source of passive income, that was 3 years ago when I sat down and was like, okay, so I've got $37,000 worth of debt. And what am I going to do now?
Mm, amazing. Okay, so let's backtrack a little bit to this event, because there are people in this group, and even people who are going to be watching the recording, and we're going to get this video out to like anyone and everyone who is in debt and who wants to, or even just wants to learn how to save more money, how to like attract more money in their life, how to create a wealth consciousness, which is what happened here. So, Millionaire Mind Intensive. Tell us what that is.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
So, Millionaire Mind Intensive is a weekend seminar. They do it for free initially, and you go for 2 days, and then they just basically rewire your blueprint, like on the spot, of the way you look at money, the things like the habits. I don't want to give it away because there's like really, really powerful demonstrations that you do personally that kind of really shake you up as to what you think money's about, and just the whole paradigm around money. But it's a 2-day course. You go there. It's one of these 9 to 9 type deals, and you're just really immersed in this culture of learning about money and learning about your habits and how to change all that stuff. And it's just a lot of value. So if they're still doing it, I definitely suggest anyone here who's got any sort of interest to go.
Yeah, beautiful. And it was started by T. Harv Eker, right? Who's
That's right.
one of like the first pioneers in personal development, personal growth. We're talking like 25, no, more, 30, 40 years ago. He started, I think, maybe even more. Amazing guy who I believe has since sold his company, that
Yep.
Millionaire Mind company. Just amazing interactive workshop. And I believe it still happens in Toronto every early fall and early spring. So for those of you who have not been, you have to go. I always tell people when it's here, like invite your entire family, your entire network, and sit up at the very front. And do whatever you need to do to get to this seminar, because it is so life-changing, right? Isn't it? It's so life-changing, which as it was for you too. Okay, cool. So you went to this workshop and they taught many, many things, including this thing that you've referred to as the JAR system. So what was
Right.
that all about?
So the jar system was a way to essentially divide up your pay, and make sure that not only are you paying your expenses, but you're able to pay down some debt. You can throw some money away to have a good time. You can put some money away for larger things, larger purchases that you want to make, and then philanthropy. So it's adding give. That was the first time I'd ever in my life learned about giving money, and really the like the spiritual aspect behind giving and tithing and stuff like that. I'd never, even though it was in the secret, I didn't really grasp the power of that until I had gotten to the Millionaire Mind Intensive.
Wow. And so there were these jars. How many jars were there? There was
Six jars. I got my notes here.
Yeah. So 6 jars, and they all had like, one was giving, one was
Right.
like fun jar. Do you have them? Do you have that all listed there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So I've got it all. So basically what the jars were is there were 6 jars. The first one is your expense. Well, 7 really, technically, because your first one is your expenses. And they were saying that the rule of thumb And I don't remember if this was just for wealthy people or if it was a general rule that they were giving, but they were saying that you shouldn't live past 55% of your income. That
Mm,
should be your expenses.
mm,
So if you were starting this system, they recommended 55% of your income go to all of your expenses, and then you have your 5 jars, so your 6 jars, which number one would be LTSS, which is long-term savings for spending,
mm,
which is 10%.
mm,
And that's something you would do for like vacations or car down payment, um,
mm.
something extravagant that you're saving for, or maybe something for the house. I don't like you need a new dishwasher or something like that.
Yes.
So that's LTSS. Then you would have FF, which is financial freedom, and
Mm,
that one is something you never touch. So that's 10%. You never dip into that jar for any other reason other than to grow yourself financially. So that's for whether it be stocks or assets or businesses or anything you want to do to grow your portfolio. That's what that money's there for. The third jar is education, and that is another 10%, and that's for personal development. So any courses you could think of, or you know, books. That was another big one, a small one, but a big one for me because I was buying so many books at the time to gain that wealth of knowledge that was coming out of my own pocket. So
mm,
now I had a separate account, education, where I could dip into for courses and books and online stuff or anything you want to do relating to growing your mind and
mm.
growing your business. Another one was give, and that was 5%. So all the money in there is to give. It's not for birthday gifts or that type of stuff. It's to
Yeah.
give to charitable causes or anything that you want to kind of give money to.
Mm,
And then you had play, which was another 10%. And the rule on play is that you could not keep that jar for longer than 3 months. So whatever you typically you want to use that once a month and go out and just splurge on yourself
mm.
and go and have a good time.
Yeah.
What we were doing was we were going to, if we held it for 3 months, we'd go to like an expensive restaurant or something, or I would take it and go to the movies by myself. Just something where, like sometimes you may want to do something and you'd have to think about it. But
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
and that's really what all these jars are there for, is that you don't have to think, like
Mm,
you're giving with an open heart because the money's there.
mm.
You're,
Love
you're
that.
going to your courses and you're buying your books without double thinking it because the money's there.
Mm,
And your down payment for your car is there. Like you don't have to ever feel bad. You've got these jars with all that money in there and you're like, great, I can just go in. And the one that helped me the most was give, because I could just give without thinking twice. I'd be like, someone would come up and say, oh, it's my son's dance-a-thon. I'd be like, okay,
mm.
great, here, here's
Yeah.
20 bucks.
Definitely there. Yes.
Right. And then of course on the back end you learn how to give enough that you're getting a tax receipt and then writing that off also. So you're just learning all the different secrets. And then the last one, um, I don't remember if I created this myself. I believe they talked about it where every single day you put money into this jar. So it was called Daily FF, Daily Financial Freedom.
Mm,
And what I did was I put $1 in that jar every day. And with all of these jars, they were all physical
yes.
in front of me,
In front of you.
physical paper money that you're putting in, because it was a component of touch and feel and smell and like adding as many senses as you could to put it in.
Yeah.
So whenever I drop $1 into that, like I would literally get paid, take out all this money, go to the bank, cash in some for like dollar coins, and leave these coins on the side, and every day drop $1, a loonie, into that jar until I could build it up to where now it's like $5 a day, and I'm still doing it physically because
Wow.
I want to feel that paper money going in there, and I know like there's no bad day because every day I've woken up, I've given to myself, and I've put money into that daily financial freedom jar. And same with all the rest of them, right? I've just got um, all those jars filled up. And what I did was I started with, I didn't go with the percentages. I went with what I could afford because I was still paying down debt.
Yeah.
So I went with like $5 per jar on every one that was 10%. And again, like now I'm up to $20 per jar, and then $5 a day that I'm able to stash away. And you just keep growing it and growing it as you get more abundance into your life. You just keep putting more and more money in there. So
So
that was the key for the whole thing, was just putting what you can afford, and don't worry about the percentages in the beginning. The percentages will catch up when the habit when you've built the habit.
Oh my God. So, okay. So you have these jars, and where in your house are these jars?
So when I first started, they were in the kitchen, and my wife hated it, but I had to do something drastic for myself.
Yeah.
And she hated that they were in the kitchen because she's like, people are going to come over and they're going to see these jars of money. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, I have to, this is for me and for you and for the kid. Like, this is for our future. So I have to just make something drastic. That was really the only reason it was in the kitchen, was because I had like this little side table on the corner.
Yeah, yeah.
Now that side table is migrated to our bedroom. So I have a space in my room now where the jars
Nice.
sit every day. So
Okay.
when I wake up in the morning and I wake up and I look literally straight in front of me, that table is there with the jars. So I know, get up. Before I even brush my teeth, sometimes I grab that $5 and I throw it in the daily jar, close it up,
Yes.
and then I go into the washroom and get ready for work.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh my God, amazing. Okay, so your jars. So when you heard about this, where did you buy these jars? Like, how did you be like, and how long did it take you? Did it take you forever to find jars, or were you like, I'm not finding jars, and you made it happen?
No, I went to the dollar store and I got these little plastic ones. I have a picture of it, but I don't exactly know how to share my screen from a phone. I know how to
Yeah.
do it at home on the
Oh,
computer.
that's okay.
So I took a picture for everybody, but maybe, you know
Cool.
what, I can send that to you later and you can
Yeah,
look.
send it to me. I'd love to put that in the group.
Yeah, so they were from the dollar store, and I got green construction paper because I wanted the green to represent the money, and
Mhm.
then I have labels on all of them. So they're probably like a little square, like if you're looking at my head, probably like that big.
Yeah.
Pretty significant size jars. They're just clear. But I wanted them to be big and audacious because one of the things that the guys at Millionaire Mind talked about was when you go out with your play jar, and Carrie hated this too, was going out for dinner and taking that jar out of my pocket and putting it on the table and just taking money out of there and just being like, because now you don't care, right? There's like the money's there. Like, I'm going to
Oh
this
my
restaurant.
God.
The bill might have been like $200. I'm like, great. Poof, and throw it on the
You have your
table.
jar right there on the
Yeah,
table, whatever your play is for the night.
yeah. I'd love to say I had the stones to do that more than once. I did it once and she cut that off. So uh, after that, after we just kept the money in the wallet, but that
Oh
was
my
fun.
God, that's hilarious. Oh my God, I love it. Oh, wow. So once again, perfect example of you being coachable. You were so hungry, like literally hungry for the change, hungry for this new life, hungry to see something different for you, your family. You had such a strong, you still continue to have such a strong why. And
Mhm.
so you took action, which is what you did the entire time in Vima. It was unbelievable, it was so beautiful to watch and so inspiring. So you heard of this, you went, you bought these jars, you made it happen, you started making it happen, and then 3 years went by.
Right. So here's what I was doing with the actual jars. So financial freedom was the only one that was online. That one wasn't physically. I mean, I have the physical jar, but it was always empty. I would always just stash that money away online.
Okay.
Um, I don't know. Oh, because I had a higher interest account that it was going into, and I
Okay.
wanted to gain the interest on it.
Yes.
And then what I was doing with the DFF, so once a month, after every 30 days, whatever was in that daily financial freedom jar, I was taking that and throwing down on whatever debt that I was paying off at the time.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was part of my debt repayment strategy. The other part of the debt repayment strategy was to take a lump sum out of my pay and
Mm.
just throw that in there first. So I had two different times in the month where I was three different times, sorry, two paychecks, and then after every 30 days, unloading that jar and putting it into whatever I was paying off at the time. And then that was a different strategy as to what I was paying off and why I was paying it off at specific times,
Oh my God. So
which
you
I
were
can get
taking the time to like
in.
build your long-term life. You weren't just like, oh my God, I got all this debt. I got these 8 things that I'm in debt with, whatever. You were like, okay, hang on a second. Let me review these things and figure out which is going to be the priority.
Yeah.
Wow. And where did you start to get that awareness? Like, all of that awareness. What, like, was it books you were reading? What were you doing to start to really become more aware with that?
So with that, it came from exploring into real estate investing.
Mm,
And they talked a lot about debt repayment because a lot of people are looking for money to get involved in these deals, right? And you have to have a good credit score to get anything
yeah.
to be able to invest in real estate. So that was the second part of my debt repayment strategy, because what I learned from those courses was that a lot of people make the mistake of getting consolidation loans. And then and in the long term, I'm not that great at articulating it yet, but in the long term, it's actually worse off to get a consolidation loan. What you want to do is pay off, you keep everything separate, pay off the minimums on everything, and attack the highest interest rate first. And so, if you have like let's say you have 4 credit cards, and one is 25%, the other 3 are 18, and then you've got a line of credit for 5.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that you have $10,000 on each credit card and 50,000 on your line of credit. Let's say you have $2 on the one that's 25%, you still pay that first. Get rid of that, and then get that card out of the way.
Beautiful.
And then you move on to the next highest percentage of interest rate, and you start attacking that while still paying. So then you take what you were paying on the first one, add that to what you're paying to the second one, and still pay your minimums as you go down the road on the other whatever else you're paying on interest.
Oh my God. And it makes sense when you think of this. So you have continued since we all left Vima, which was like 5 years ago, do you think? 4 or 5?
Probably 4 years ago.
4 years ago. You've continued this amazing journey of constantly learning. You got into, you invested a significant amount of money into real estate investing. Well, learning and taking courses. You have a partner now who you guys have real estate investments together. You do your own. You've continued this beautiful journey of just learning, and picking and honing in on a certain thing and becoming an expert in that area, which is obvious for real estate investing. That's so amazing. And so tell us what's going on with your real estate investing before we move on to what else you've been doing.
Yeah. So with real estate investing, I just learned how to basically gain assets, right? And so it wasn't about it was another tweak in the mindset of not being afraid of getting into more debt.
Yeah.
Because that was the first thing I said to them. I was like, wow, I'm already X amount. At that point, it wasn't 37, but it might have been like 35 or something. I don't know. But I was like, I can barely afford to pay for the courses. And they're like, you can't be afraid of getting into more debt to gain an asset, because that was another big piece of how I paid this all down, because all of the cash flow that I was generating month to month from the real estate was going into the debt repayment as well. So it was just being like really, really structured with where my money was going. And then the one thing I didn't take from a book at all, it was just something that came to me personally, was when I was writing my notes. I was like, one thing I never thought of was getting upset that I was paying back debt. Because like when you look at the JAR system, the reason you put to a give account is so that you're not feeling any sort of negative emotions towards money, because that's where people stop, right? They start paying down all their debt, and they just feel like, oh my God, all my money's going to debt. Whereas like you got to put a little bit into place so that you can have fun, and you got to have your your long-term saving for spending, so that you can still go and do stuff. You can still save up for your, vacation. It's going to take you a little bit longer. We only took 2 in like 4 years, but it's a sacrifice you make. But the change that I made in my mindset was just knowing that I'm paying back debt for things I already bought. So I've already bought the thing that I wanted. So now I'm just paying back what I owe. So it's not a negative thing. It's like I'm already enjoying the whatever that thing was that I used the money for. It's just now I'm paying it back. And that's what I was doing with the real estate stuff, was just everything that was coming in, and any sort of a lump sum that came from work. Like we had a back pay that came in, and it was just being disciplined to being like, okay, we're not going to take this money and just go on a vacation. We're just going to, and that was the final part. That was the final, like, I think it was a retro pay that we got from work, and it was a couple $1,000s. And that was the final, like, boom, now it's at 0. So instead of just saying, okay, I'll pay half and we'll go on a vacation or we'll do something else, I was like, let's just get it out of the way. Let's just get it done. And those are the things that I was doing. Like, anytime money would come into our hands, like, just put it all there.
This is so, I'm just sitting here going, like, you need to be teaching this stuff. You need to be like somehow teaching and helping people who, get off track, because so many people are not as disciplined, or maybe not as hungry, or maybe some people believe that they're hungry and they're just not sort of as disciplined. but how beautiful it would be. Just something, I know you're so busy and you have so many things that are going on, which we're going to still get to a few more that you're working on, but I just think it's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this would be amazing. Like how many of you on this call, I'm sure, saying, wow, like how can I work with this guy? Like how do I, work with him and get a bit more information? So amazing. Now, before we move on to what else you're doing, because I want to talk about your book, I want to talk about
Hmm.
what you're working on now. I just want to share my screen for a second because this morning I was remembering the jar system and I was remembering back in our Vima days that Felipe, who was also with us in Vima, amazing guy, created for us a document that I found today, Shane. And I know you probably even have it still, right? Or you're wait till I share my screen. So I have this here. Felipe created this for us. It's got like a check. Check this out. For any of you who would like it, I can send it to you. It does have Vima on it. None of us are any longer with Vima, but it's hilarious. It's got everything on it. Can you see this beautiful document? Can everyone see this? Okay, so there it is. So we were called the Lions, and he called it the Financial Intelligence and Money Management 101. And he has those 4 quadrants, right? Which everyone in network marketing learned about. Plus, Robert Kiyosaki talks about these 4 quadrants, right? The employee, the business owner, the self-employed versus the investments, right? 97% of the world versus 3% of the world. Then he has this Vima check, which I thought was hilarious. So he Vima sized it or whatever we call it. And there are those jars. Are those your jars right here? Right? So we were teaching this in our group, in our network marketing group. There we have the necessities, the long-term savings and spending, the play, the give, the financial freedom account, the education account, and the contingency, right? Amazing. Oh my God. Do you remember this?
I do.
Yeah. God, it's just so many memories. It feels like yesterday and at the same time feels like lifetimes ago. If
Hmm.
anyone watching the video would like a copy of this, just let me know. It's got the jars here, but I'm sure you can find this system anywhere else. It originated from Millionaire Mind Intensive. And so, but just what a cool way of seeing it right here. Okay, so tell us about your book because you are an author once so far, right? So what happened there? So you decided to write a book, like out of nowhere.
Yeah.
What was that all about?
Um, there were two things. The first thing was just in always just keeping in mind, like I wanted to create and have as many different assets as possible. And so um, I remember being at your event and I always had it in my mind to write a kid's book. And being an ECE and being at work, sometimes I'd pick up books, to read to the kids, and I'd be like, man, this is terrible. Like I could write something better than this. There's like nothing in it. So honestly, like I'd look at the kids' books and I'd be like, man, they waste so much money on this nonsense. Where I have a message and a story that I want to share with parents who are being a little more involved,
Mm-hmm.
let's say. So it was one to create something for my kids, just as like a keepsake that they could have, and they could go online and type in dad's name, and here I'm going to pop up on Amazon or something like that, right? So that was the cool factor. But then the secondary part was creating an asset where I'm going to continue to reap the benefits of it as
Mm.
time goes on, right? And so I remember coming to that conclusion at your launch event for your book uh, when I went to the washroom, and I just was like, you remember I came running out of the washroom and I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I just thought of my book. I knew the exact everything of what I was going to do. And then the next week over, I just wrote it and then got the illustrator, and so it's out there. Silly Sydney is on Amazon.com.
I remember how fast that happened. You literally got to download in the
It is.
washroom, and then
Yeah,
you went and you
it's done.
sat down, and the whole thing was written, like
Mhm.
literally in one sitting. Oh, look at Sandy! Share that again. Can you share that? There's the book. Oh my God. And then the illustrator showed up, and then this showed up, and then all of a sudden, like within months, right?
Yeah. It was within 6 months,
Yes.
uh, top to bottom. 6 months, it was done.
We had a launch party, which was
Mhm.
so much fun.
Yep.
Amazing. And now so the book is called Silly Sydney. So who's
Yeah.
Sydney?
Yeah. Silly Sydney.
And who's Sydney?
And oh, right. So yeah. So it's about my kid, and Sydney is the middle child, and the intention was to write a book about all three of them, individual books about all three of them. But she just had her she just had like all the energy and the spunk and all the stories kind of revolved around her. So in the house in general, right? Like if I were to tell a story about our family, it always was centered on like something Sydney was doing. So I was like, this is just the easiest story to tell. And I knew that a lot of people had always said, once we had three, they were like, oh, middle child syndrome, middle child this, middle child that. And I was watching it really in real life. And I'm like, wow, this stuff is true. Because it was just me and my sister growing up. So I didn't know what the whole, middle child deal was about. And so I just wrote it about them. I included everything. I made it as it's 100% real story. It's everything that's illustrated is my family. It's really me. It's really my wife.
Pictures
It's
of
really
you, right? That you gave to the illustrator, and she literally.
Right. That's right. Everything was done off photographs. So even like the bathroom, the bedroom scenes, the hallway, the railing, it's my home. It's my actual home. So when the kids look at it, like it's not like, foreign to them or anything. They're like, wow, look, this is my bedroom, and this was my bed, and this was like the sheets that I slept with, and the clothes, even down to the clothes that they wore, like their favorite pants and their favorite dresses and their favorite shirts and stuff. That was all included in the story.
So cute. So cute. So then you became an author.
Right.
And then what?
So then after the book, that's when I jumped into the real estate investing. So there was that as well. And I just, when Vima went down and we later had jumped to Jeunesse and stuff, I felt like I felt a significant void, because I was always pushing on something outside of work, which was that was like my golden nugget type of thing to move me, beyond where I wanted to be work-wise. So I'd felt that void after doing that, when that all fell apart, and I just had the one book, and I wasn't finding any sort of inspiration to write again. So at the time, so that's when I got into real estate investing, and then finally the energy came back, and we're doing. I've partnered with. I believe Sonia's in the group, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So myself and Sonia, we partnered on now a series. So we're writing a series of books. We've got 5 working titles right now. We finished writing the first book itself, and that's going to illustration, and we're trying to push it out to publishing in the next coming weeks and stuff. So that's out there. We've got 4 other titles that we've put, rough ideas around, and we've got, the inspiration for those books and stuff. So that's another journey that's happening currently right now.
Oh my God. And so collaboration, because that's like one of my favorite words in the entire world. And that's what we do always, 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 always here in the Goddess Temple. We talk about how much stronger we are when we're together. So you and Sonia collaborate. What, like, without, I guess, giving away, unless you want to share like what the book's about or whatever, but how did that come to be?
Well, it started because obviously we knew each other from Vima going back way back then. And she had helped me with some issues I was having with my dad when we reconnected, and then I got into some heavy stuff, panic attacks and anxiety, and a lot of things were coming up, like really heavy stuff. And I went to her, and we started working together on that aspect of my life. And with everything that we were able to shift and move, and just all the growth that came out of that. And she was helping my daughter a little bit as well. Sydney was having nightmares, and we'd shifted through that. And I was just like, you know what? More people need to know how to do this, but who's really going to be the people who just take this on without the baggage? And it's going to be kids. So I approached her and I said, would you like to help me with a book? And I was just thinking, like, I'll write the story and just kind of help get her professional advice to kind of add tidbits in. And it turned into like, yeah, let's do this together. And I was like, wow, okay, let's go. I was shocked, because I kind of held her like higher standard. I didn't think she'd be interested in writing a book. And then here we are. So
yeah. And so Sonia is an intuitive healer. She has a beautiful, incredible, unique gift of literally looking at you, and even if she doesn't even know you or see you, she can feel into your aura and into your energy, and very quickly see some blocks within your body,
Yeah.
your physical body, even your organs. And so she has this beautiful ability to help very quickly to get to a block, and mostly the biggest block that you're dealing with. And so I myself and so many of us in this group have also experienced her beautiful gift. Wow. So this book, the first of the series, is coming out soon.
Soon.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Okay. Amazing. And now, if that wasn't enough, you're also involved, most recently you got involved in another venture. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So after completely swearing off in my head and through words that I would never ever do any sort of a networking business again, I'm only going to do real estate and I'm only going to do, individual things.
Yeah.
My inner extrovert was like, no, we still have more work to do. And a friend of mine dropped a direct sales venture into my lap. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the name or not. I'm not pitching anybody here, but
Oh, of course, please do. That's what we're all about, is just everybody sharing. Yes.
so yeah, so he pitched Melaleuca to me, and it made sense on just so many levels. And there's a lot of like slimy stuff about network marketing that I really hated. And so I was his toughest sell because I took him through the ringer for like 2 weeks. And I was like, okay, great. It doesn't have the stuff I didn't like, and it's got everything that I enjoyed about it. So I'm involved. I'm partnered with Melaleuca now. And so, yeah, there's just so many things on the go right now. It's exciting because, being busy is exciting, and being involved in different groups of people is also something that excites me as well. It keeps my energy high, and it keeps me, focused on what I want to do and what I want to create. So, yeah, so that would be the second newest thing, because we started the book
Yes, right.
just after I started Melaleuca, because I remember the conversation with Sonia. She's like, okay, I'm ready. Because I told Sonia about this last year, and she knew I wasn't ready. Intuitively, she knew I wasn't ready to, just my energy wasn't ready to go there.
Yeah.
And so we just kept working on me throughout the early part of the year, like January to like August. We were just working on me and getting myself prepared. And then right as I got involved, it's like my second week, and I'm like, okay, great, all systems go, and I've got all my days planned out. She's like, I'm ready to do the book. I was like, oh shoot. Okay, so I told her straight. I was like, hey, I have like Melaleuca on the go, so I don't know how this is gonna work out. And it was literally like the book in the morning and in my
Wow.
lunchtime, and
Oh,
then Melaleuca from lunchtime to dinner, sorry, after the kids go to bed. Because one thing I learned from our first experience with Vima was to not blend that time with my kids.
yes.
I
Yeah.
was doing too much of that the first time,
Mm,
and now it's completely separated. The
mm,
kids know what I'm doing, and I want them to know what I'm doing. I want them to know all the different things that I'm engaged in for their life, but
yes.
it doesn't affect their life. It doesn't affect my time with them.
That's brilliant. And you know what I love? One other thing I want to share about you that I think has been so amazing and is so inspiring is you have a full-time job and you are an early childhood education educator. And so he has a specific time for breaks and lunch, right? And you can
Right.
literally leave and you're no longer having to take care of the kids. And always used to always use that time so efficiently, whether it was for phone calls with us, whether it was for following up on a video. It was like his time away from home. It was like that was the golden time where he was going to, like, we literally were building and brainwashing, right? Brainwashing, I call it, like helping to build more goodness into our brain, more of a stronger mindset. And I just love you for that, because that's such an inspiration. I know it was an inspiration to so many people in Vima, because you were
Mm-hmm.
such an inspiration to that massive group that we all work together with. And it's just amazing. I I am so grateful because this is like taking me back to, when we used to have phone calls all the time and masterminds and everything. The only
Mhm.
thing that makes me sad is that we don't get to do that as much anymore. But I'm so grateful for this because look at you. I mean, you're just so inspiring. Your mindset is unbelievable. Paint a picture of what the future is going to be for you. Paint that picture for all of us here so that we can see you and see ourselves paint a picture for our futures too.
Um, that's one thing that I've kind of not, I wouldn't say struggled with, but um, I write down a lot of my goals and stuff, and sometimes I just write it down. It's like it's written and it's gone.
Mhm.
Um, I got to work more on the visualization, but a couple of the goals that I've got for 2020 is, you'll be seeing Sonia and I on Ellen one day. That's for sure. I don't know,
Oh my
how
God.
soon or how late that's gonna happen, but we'll be on her show. We'll be on the
You're gonna
couch,
hear.
and we'll be there. Yeah, yeah. We're gonna the books that we're doing. It's like um all of her like healing and her gift coming out in a way that like I'm using like the language that I speak at work, and the visualization of like creating the text. Like we're just it's just such a strong message that we've got in these books that I believe it's going to carry us somewhere that we're not even expecting to go. But
Mhm.
um, we've got that, and my biggest goal with Melaleuca is just to create enough passive income that I can walk away from work in the beginning part time,
Yeah.
just kind of take 2 days off the docket so that I can spend more time with the kids and be more flexible. And then eventually, by the end of the year, just,
Mm.
take out that 9 to 5, take out that grind, because,
God. Wow.
a lot of it just doesn't align with me. I want to do work. There's going to be some kind of work. Sonny and I were just talking about this. Like, I'm not the type, I don't believe I'm the type that can just be at home
Yeah.
and not, and just,
Yeah.
be counting the money that's coming in, no matter how much passive income I have. I
Yeah.
believe I have to be doing something. So what that is, I don't know. But working a 9 to 5 job with someone else dictating my
Mm.
breaks and lunches and what I say and what I don't say and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
that's not for me anymore.
I see you sharing your story everywhere. I
Mm,
see you because you are the perfect example of somebody who is in a very structured full time job, right?
mm,
Very structured job, um, who has dreams and who realizes that that job potentially isn't utilizing all of your unique abilities, right? And
mm,
isn't igniting the passion that is within you. And so, but rather than complaining about it and feeling like you're miserable, rather than being miserable, you're working towards, you're creating this new future for yourself, these new assets that you talk about. And I think it's just so relatable to so many people. Your story is so relatable because you also you have so many other, I don't want to call them challenges, but things that you're working. I mean, you have a wife, you have 3 kids, you have a house, you have a mortgage, you have now a cottage too. Like you have these things, like these responsibilities, and yet it's not like somebody who's single who might be like, oh yeah, one day I want to leave my corporate job, and it might seem to be a little bit easier. I'm not saying it's easier for them, but you just have a lot going on for you, and you just keep moving forward. And I think that your why is just so strong, and you literally wear that on your sleeve, just like you wear your heart on your sleeve. And it's just been such an inspiration for me. I'm just so thankful for every moment that I've been able to ever talk to you, to be with you. I'm so grateful for our journey that we've had together. I know our journey is going to continue
mm.
in so many ways in the future, and I'm excited about what those are going to look like. And I'm just so excited. So I guess maybe to close, is there anything you want to share, knowing that this group are, for the most part, not everyone's an entrepreneur, but for the
Mhm.
most part, Some are working full time and doing something on the side. Some are just are working full time and have a goal of being an entrepreneur one day, and they're not quite sure what.
Mhm.
And then many are already entrepreneurs or solopreneurs. Um, what would you say? Is there anything you want to close with that can really support them right now?
Um, I guess it would just be to do something every day that
Mm,
moves you closer, right? Because like you talked about with my breaks, there were like
mm,
15 minutes, no more than that. That's all you got twice a day. And when I walked away, if I wasn't doing something to advance network marketing or doing something to advance real estate or doing something to, write, whether I was writing the book at the time or not, I was reading. I
mm,
was never just sitting there on my phone. Even like when I was downtown working, when you guys first met me and I was taking the GO train, that whole GO train ride home was no longer music. It used to be music, but then I cut that out, and it was just reading, and just doing something that's gonna push yourself forward, because it all kind of counts.
mm,
I'm starting to finally learn that and let that like sink in, that all the work that you do is going to keep moving you forward, even though you think like, oh man, like, I got to make that one call, and that one call didn't go well, but you know it's done something, it's changed something within you, and it's moved you forward in some kind of way. You just got to look for the whatever the positive is, or whatever the gift is in that. And um that's it. Just do something every day. I mean, some days are ugly and some days are like
yeah.
hard, and they're like a slosh, like you're just walking through, like you're just trudging through it. But it that's all. I mean, for someone like me who has very little free time at work, like I just always try to make something happen while I'm there.
And you again are such a perfect example of the compound effect, right? Baby steps. You take baby steps every single day. You have since the moment that you discovered the secret and realized that there's so much more out there for you and that you have the control over receiving it. And it's so true. It's like you say, one day you're having a bad day, but you're still going to make that call, and it might not be a call that went the way you had wanted it to be, but you've learned from that experience. And the compound effect of doing something every single day, Shane, you are a completely different person that some people, it takes more than one lifetime to get to. What you have gotten to from the day I met you, which was maybe 7 years ago, 6 years ago, I don't even know, seven, maybe something like that,
Seven,
to today,
six, yeah.
6 or 7 years ago, a completely, like drastic, completely different person because of the compound effect, because of doing something every single day. And we started to see that within just weeks of you doing something every single day. It didn't take 7 years for you to become who you are. You like that progress, your story is so incredible. And I'm so glad that you said that at the end, that it's just doing something every day. It's taking that action, but making sure that it's aligned, right? Making sure that it's the aligned action. You have taken the time to read, to go inside. I know that you meditate. I know that you're really working on this beautiful inner journey as well. The spiritual journey has been really important to you. How can you serve more? And that has also shifted in terms of helping you to become more aware of what it is you want to do versus what you think you need to be doing, what other people are telling you you need to be doing, right? So you're really chosen these things that are aligned with you and taken that aligned action. And I think that's so key. Oh my God.
Yeah. So,
How are we going to say goodbye now? How is that? I don't want to do this. I don't want to end this call. This has just been so amazing. I wonder, let's just open up really quickly, see if anyone on the call would have any questions. I don't know if Sandy or Tamara or Lucy or Judith have any questions for Shane just before we'll maybe have time for one quick question. Sandy.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
So I love the jar system. I've tried it once. The one thing that would always stop me, and this is funny because the conversation about the coupons yesterday, Judy, is the benefits of putting stuff on credit card and all these points. So did you ever come across any tips or any logic for why it's still better to do like the jar system versus putting it on credit card and paying it off? Because I've tried to do the jar system, and that's kind of held me back because it's like the benefit that you get from putting stuff on your credit card and all the benefits you get back. I've always been like, well, I'm losing out on that money if I'm doing any type of cash system. What do you think about that? Have you ever, like, what's your logic on that?
What I do now is when I went into the real estate courses, they talked a lot about credit and a lot about how we haven't been taught the right way to use credit, because credit in this country is everything. So what I've learned to do is I do now have a points card for multiple things. I have one for like groceries, and then I have another one which is the Aeroplan card. And the thing with that is whatever you spend on that credit card is to make sure you're able to pay that off at the end of the month. You just don't want to carry a balance, because that's the thing that's going to really skyrocket your credit rating, is to be able to just be using it all the time but also paying it. Like is paradox the right word, Judy, where like you think it's a bad thing, like we've been told, oh, don't have credit cards. The truth is, don't have a balance. Like, use it all the time but pay it off all the time as well, and then the credit, that's what's going to boost your credit rating. So even like I was still using credit card while I was doing the jar system, and just taking that daily financial freedom jar and just unloading it, making sure that jar had more money than what I was spending. Right. So that was what that, I guess, I hope that answers from my perspective anyway.
Yeah, it does. It's just because I like the jar system, but I also like the points. So I always try to figure out a way is how can I do the two of them and get the best of both worlds, right? So yeah, that can definitely help. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
And you know what? I know our friend, Dr. Stell Nikolakakis, who was also in Vimo with us. I know his story when he learned the jar system was he and his wife went to the bank and they actually opened up 6 or 7 accounts. And they named them the accounts. And so it's just different systems, right? Some people like physical jars, some people like accounts. It's whatever you think is going to work for you. So if it's going to be an account, and then the credit or whatever, it's there's just different ways that you can really approach it. Oh, love that. Okay, so for all of you who are new to this call, for anyone watching the recording who's new to this call and want to get in touch with Shane, how can they get in touch with you?
Do you guys see my name on the bottom of the thing? Okay, so I'm on Facebook. You can find me there. Instagram. I don't have like special code names or anything for any of my accounts. So
what do you mean, no undercover names? You need to get one.
No, I don't. No super cool names, no aliases or whatever. So everything is pretty up in the forefront. So
amazing.
Shane Alvarez on. I don't use Twitter, but Instagram and Facebook. Yeah, I'm there.
So follow him on Instagram or Facebook. That's Instagram or Facebook. Perfect. And for those of you who are new to the Goddess Temple, make sure you head over to the goddesstemple.ca website. We have so many free resources there for you as well, weekly planners and some amazing resources to help us to get into that mindset of really attracting based on taking aligned action. So thank you so much, Shane. Once again, I am so grateful. This is like filled my heart. My heart is so full and so happy. You have no idea. I cannot wait to see you again. I know we're trying to figure out how we're going to see each other before Christmas. We're going to make this happen. Thank you to your beautiful wife and your children for, I guess, somehow taking part in this whole beautiful co-creation too, and supporting you, and just helping you to be the person that you are, because you are just such a beautiful, beautiful shining light in this world, and you are such an inspiration to me, and I want to thank you for that.
Thank you. I was really excited and nervous to get on this call today, so thank you for having me, and thanks to everyone who was here, and thanks to everyone who's going to listen to the recording. This was pretty amazing.
Oh, beautiful. Love you. Love everybody. Thank you so much.
Love you too, Judy.
Take care. Bye. Bye.